Alright, this is the 12.2 notes. So the greatest common factor is the largest number or largest term that divides evenly into a set of terms. So for instance, the greatest common factor for 2 and 4 is 2. If we look at where there are variables involved, we're going to look at our coefficient first. So in the 6 and the 12, 6 is my greatest common factor of x squared and x. X is my greatest common factor between the two. My next one, I'm going to look at my coefficients. Greatest common factor is 2. But since 12 does not have a variable with it, I cannot have the greatest common factor is not going to have an x in it. So I'm looking at what I can pull out of all three of those terms. Here, this doesn't have a coefficient. Well, it does, but it's of 1. We don't have to put a 1. And so if x squared and x is going to be my greatest common factor. 12, 16, and negative 20, greatest common factor is 4. Looking at my coefficients here, 3, 9, and 1. 1's going to be the highest. If you need to put that imaginary 1, you can. And then we have x cubed, x squared, and x. So my greatest common factor is x. Okay. This is what we've looked at this before, but we reviewed it the day before. We're going to distribute this. It's going to be 4x squared plus 20x. Factoring is the opposite of multiplication. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that greatest common factor and we're going to pull it out of each of these, of each of the following to factor. So we're going to factor it out. Okay? So if I look at this one, my coefficient 24 and 6, 6 is the greatest common factor of the coefficient of the exponents. X is the greatest, so I'll be pulling 6x out. So 6x times what will give me 24x squared. So I'm going to start with my coefficient. 6 times 4 gives me 24. And x times x will give me the x squared. Plus 6x times what gives me 6x times 1. So that's factoring it out. So let's look at our greatest common factor for number 8. I am going through these really quickly, a lot quicker than we did in class. So if you have questions, please send them. So we have a 4 and a 3, so there is no coefficient. Well, a coefficient of 1 would be my GCF. My exponent, x and x squared, x is going to be my greatest. So we'll pull that out. 4, so x times what's going to give me 4x squared? Times 4x minus 3, because 3 times x gives me 3x. Number 9, my greatest common factor is going to be 4a squared. 4 is the greatest of 12 and 16. A squared is the greatest of a cubed and a squared. And a good way to think of it is a cubed is a times a times a. A squared is a times a. So they have two of them that we can pull out. So 4a squared is going to be 3a minus 4. Number 10. My greatest common factor here is I can pull out from the 10, 20, and the 5. I can pull out a 5. Y cubed, y squared, and a y. I can pull out a y. It's going to be 5y. It's going to be 2y squared. 5 times 4 gives me 20. Y times y. And to get that, it's going to be a minus 1, because that's a negative 5y. Number 11, my greatest common factor is 4x, because 16/8, 4. Now, we did talk about if there was a negative 16 here, I would have pulled out the negative 4, because all three terms would have been negative. But that's not what I have. I have two negatives and a positive. So 4x. So it's going to be 4x squared minus 2x minus 1. All right, and then number 12, my greatest common factor. So looking at my coefficients is 2. And since that last 2 doesn't have a variable, it's just going to stay as 2. So 2 times 3x squared plus 2 times 2x minus 1 will give me that negative 2. I know I'm going through these pretty fast. Alright, the back side. So yesterday's lesson, which I know you missed, so it's going to be a nice little recap, a nice little thing for you. I have two terms, sorry I went blank on that word, and 2 terms here. So I'm going to do a box that's a 2 by 2 because I have 2 terms for each. And I'm going to write those terms. So I have x, and I have a positive 2, so I'm just going to keep it as a 2. I have an x and a 5. And it's just like a multiplication table. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10. So I had an x squared plus, I have a 2x and a 5x, so that's 7x together, plus 10. So what we're going to do is, we did a bunch of those yesterday, but we're going to work a little bit backwards on it today. So I'm going to look at this first row, and I'm going to say, okay, what is the greatest common factor of x squared and 4x? Greatest common factor is x. Greatest common factor of negative 2 and negative 8 is negative 2. I'm going to look this direction. What is the greatest common factor of x squared and negative 2x? X. The greatest common factor of 4x and negative 8 is 4. Now, I do want to double check it. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. So, what I'm left with is x plus 4 here on the top. And left here at the bottom, I have x minus 2. And that's my factors. Those are the two things I multiply together to get this solution. Number 14. So my 3x squared and my 10x have an x in common. 6x and 20 has a 2 in common. This direction has a 3x I can pull out. And right here has a 10 I can pull out. I'm going to double check it. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 2 is 6x. 10 times x is 10x. 10 times 2 is 20. So I have x plus 2 for my top. And my left, I have 3x plus 10. So those are my factors. Let's look at our next one. These two have an x in common. These two have a 4 in common. These two have a 2x in common. And these two have a have a 5 in common. Now, I want you to notice, though, I have 0 negatives on the outside, but I have negatives on the inside. So we're going to see what that is going to look like. So 2x times x is 2x squared. That's good. 2x times 4 equals a negative 8. So one of these two is going to be a negative, and I'm going to go with my negative 4 for now, and I'm going to see why. 5 times x is 5x. Ooh, I need a negative there. So negative 5 times negative 4 gives me that positive 20. When I have a positive 20 down here, positive here, but I have two negatives there, that tells me these two are going to have to be negatives. So x minus 4, 2x minus 5. All right, number 16. These two have a 7x in common. These two only have 1 in common. These two have an x in common. These two have a 2 in common. So x times 7x is 7x squared. X times 1 is x. 7x times 2 is 14x, and 2 times 1 is 2. All right, I want you to go ahead and try number 17 and 18 by yourself. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to push play when you have both of them completed. All right, you should have paused and pushed play by now, since I'm posting the answers for you. So we have x minus 1 and x plus 5, and it doesn't matter. These can be flipped. That's okay. 3x and 4. 4x minus 1, and 4x minus 1. Of course, if you have any questions, please send them my way. I know that was a really quick video. I was just told you were virtual at like 9:30, so I didn't make a video yesterday. If you have any questions, send them my way.